What's going on, my creative collective? Welcome to lesson number 37 for A Course in Creativity. Glasses made from glow sticks, inspired by A Course in Miracles of the same number, which is My Holiness Blesses the World. Oh my gosh, this lesson is such a big deal. So this lesson is a huge deal because it emphasizes that your light, the light that exists in you at all times, that you can see from, that you shine into the world, that is then infused into the world around you. So exciting. But that light is quiet. That light is quiet. What does that mean? It's similar to how, I've heard it said that intuition is quiet and fear is much louder. This is very similar to that energy where your light is subtle. It's so subtle. How is it subtle? Well, your subtlety, that's your power. Your power is subtle. It doesn't need to shout. It even says in this lesson in particular, it doesn't need to preach. It doesn't need to be so loud about itself. When we teach about it, that's one thing, but it's a different kind of loud. For example, I was talking to someone in politics, this is years ago, and it was an enlightening conversation in general, but one of the things that they said was that those who make good candidates for office are those who are deeply connected to their values. They don't have to shout about what they believe because their life is an example of who they are. Who they are is infused into that, and that is required, I guess, for political stances and stages and things like that, and political theater, all of that stuff with campaigns and things along those lines. But they made such an impression on me because they said that if you're convinced of your beliefs, you don't need to argue with anybody. You need to make compelling points about it, and you don't need to shout above or over other people. You just need to emphasize why you believe what you believe, and also consider why you get caught up in debates about things, or why you get all riled up over things that really are, if you were good in your beliefs, would you feel the same way? But that's one point that they made that has stuck with me, and I liken it to this lesson because your light is so subtle. It doesn't need to shout, because it emanates from within you. It's from who you are, right? You don't need to, you can if you want to, but you live your peace. You live your peace. You can have moments of doubt. You can have moments of disappointment. You're human, right? You can have moments where you feel things, but at your core, your peace is always there. It's there. It's part of you, because when you recognize it, when you sink into the present moment, you recognize it in such a powerful way. And the reality is that kind of becomes an unshakable foundation upon which you can build your life. So the Course also emphasizes that this quiet recognition, nobody really loses. Isn't that an interesting concept? Nobody loses. I still find this interesting to this day, but that nobody really loses when you're seeing through the eyes of your heart space and the present moment. How can they? Right? It's mind-bending to think about how much we live in a world that is inflamed with debate, and discourse that is angry and ready to rip one another to shreds. You can see the hooks where people might say and try to pull you into this debate, but if you're good with what you believe, why debate it? Why do we need that energy other than to validate something about ourselves that we need to be doing for ourselves, instead of relying on the ways that we engage with others to validate that as part of our being, instead of just being that thing, right? When I am happy, when I'm having a great day, I don't need to debate with someone about why my day is good, because I just know it. I know it to be true. This particular lesson in A Course in Miracles talks about the end of sacrifice. The end of sacrifice. How do we sacrifice ourselves? How do we lay ourselves down on these different altars that we make as sacrifices? And this can be hopes, dreams, wishes, things that you wanted to do ever since you were a kid, things that you've thought of for years, but you just won't. You can't, I don't know, maybe, can't, won't. You talk yourself out of these things, and you place that as a sacrifice, because I have to do X, Y, and Z things. I have to do this, I have to do that. But when we're in those places of sacrificing, when we're in those places of giving up, what we're doing is living somewhere other than the present moment. Because you cannot sacrifice and be here now. You cannot sacrifice and believe that in the present moment you're good, right? What does sacrifice even mean in that case? Are you sacrificing, or are you choosing something different, right? Are you sacrificing or choosing differently? So this is really something to do with how we also engage with our own power and how we believe in our power and ourselves by proxy, because the self that we believe in most of the time is the ego emplaced one that we put into the world and create all of these attachments around. We have a choice, but it is never based in sacrifice. Sacrifice is based on limitations and restrictions. So when we sacrifice something, we're saying, I believe in a world of lack, where I cannot just be happy. I have to have that thing outside of me in order to be happy. But because I am giving it up, I am reaching to some kind of goal or end state outside of me, perhaps even holiness, where that thing lives that I cannot have because I need to be associated to that thing that I'm seeing outside of me. So it's an external facing. It pulls us outside of ourselves and emplaces our power in something outside of us. It emplaces our power somewhere other than inside, right? How can we possibly be connected to our peace if we're not in the moment, right? How can we possibly be connected to our light, which is subtle, if we're not in the moment? If we're believing that we have to give something up of ourselves, which is just not true. It isn't. Peace doesn't require anything of you aside from participation in the present moment. You're doing it every single day, whether you believe it or not, right? Whether you're an active participant or not, it's there. So are you right now here. We are. I feel like Yoda. And it's not just that you sacrifice. It's what you give up and what you believe you will be blessed with in the absence of that thing. So what parts of yourself are you giving up because you believe that you will be given or granted a power that is outside of you within, right? How are you believing in that power outside of you to bestow a blessing upon you that comes from within you, right? Because if you can't feel it first, if you can't feel that joy first, this stuff will make you miserable. If you can't feel happy, well, happy is very broad, but if you cannot feel at ease first, the stuff will never matter. I'm not talking about like sacrifice for behavioral purposes, like I will not eat this thing because it is not good for me. That's a choice, right? Are you sacrificing that in that moment? Are you giving? Because it's a power dynamic, right? We are giving power to something that we believe will save us in the moment of sacrifice, right? We are giving power over to the food that we do not eat. Right now I'm doing this with sushi and it's driving me nuts because I love it so much, but it's not that great for you, right? So I'm engaging in this actively as I work through this particular lesson and otherwise. In terms of giving it up, the sacrifice implies that there's a past that's informing the giving up of something now in the hopes of something that's going to happen in the future, right? And this isn't about goal setting necessarily, but this is about really sinking into that and saying, okay, I would love that, but I have a choice that I'm making. And is it sacrifice? Is it giving something up? Is it lack mentality? Is it coming from a lack place? Well, no, because it's a higher choice that I'm making, then it's not sacrifice. So when I was younger, I loved John Mayer. Oh my gosh, so good. And even now, I aspire to be able to play the song Neon on my acoustic guitar. My attempts are shoddy at best, but they are attempts, and I love it just for the sake of it, right? Some hobbies you just do because they're hobbies, but there was a song of his that came to mind while I was working through this content, and that is Belief. So it's from his album Continuum. And I found it to be, the idea, who changes their mind from someone shouting at them one time? Like that lyric just rang in my mind. And I thought, yeah, that's really what this lesson is connecting to here. And how does this connect? So how does this connect to our creative power? How does this connect to that? Well, our creative power gets caught up in this idea that we have to give up stuff. And give up stuff in terms of sacrifice, not like exchanging periods of time for things. We're saying, I am going to go into this particular season of busy with this channel because I know that I want to reach this particular goal, and I'm going to be as present moment oriented during that entire process as possible. I am going to be in this moment with this channel and this work and love it. That's not sacrifice. not sacrifice. You know, Think Media called it a sacrifice season, which is slightly different because it sort of conceptualizes something, but we're talking about a different kind of giving up here, right? This is the kind that disconnects you from spirit. This is the kind that disconnects you from yourself, from people around you, and not just, you know, friends and things like that. It goes much deeper than that. It's disconnecting you from the energy of oneness and the source of all life that you're connected to at every single moment in time. That's the disconnect. That's the sacrifice that you make sometimes, that we all make with our perspective, right? And again, no one gets it perfect. But this song Belief was really powerful because it reminded me, you know, there's almost two modes. I was thinking about it in terms of that album because it's such a good one. But you know, the song Belief is one way of looking at it. And then The Heart of Life is another song on that album. Both, I adore those songs. But, you know, The Heart of Life is so quiet. It's such a quiet melody, and he was a musician that really taught me that, you know, the simpler the song, the simpler the melody, the deeper you can go with the lyrics, you know. So it's just these two examples that sort of popped into my head that I wanted to help to conceptualize this, and maybe to give you a song to sing at the same time, because you know what, we haven't built any playlists yet. So we need to ask ourselves, you know, what is it? How are we connecting to the quiet power that we have inside of us in every single present moment that is available to us? Hint, they're all happening at the same time, right? Like, how are we accessing that power? Are we letting it be quiet, or are we believing that it needs to be loud? You know, and there are times to get loud for sure. You know, I've been to protests and things like that before where you are getting loud with intention and purpose, and you need to, right? And there's a difference between justice and sacrifice. Your light is quiet. I've met activists and had some of them as, you know, professors when I was in grad school, whose power is quiet, but their impact, big. You'd think it was loud, but it's really not, because it's so quiet. Because they reflect back to you in a way that makes you go within. And that's real power, right? That's real power, because you're so good with you and so solid with you that your presence can't help but reflect. It can't help but reflect the light back to others that is within them, right? And that is teaching. They were excellent teachers. They were fabulous teachers, and I'm so grateful for the work that they do, that they've done, and that I got to cross paths with them in that way. So your creative spark for today is to sit with this contemplation and journal about it a little bit, right? Who do you want to bless the least? Who do you want to bless the least? And sinking into that awareness, and just consider, you can write about it or draw about it, and whatever way feels the most natural to you to express this. If you had blessings to give out, it's the one person who you'd be like, I don't really, oh, look at the time, I gotta go, right? Who would that be for you? Think about that, and then consider that person, the person you want to bless the least, is the one who has the most to teach you about how you keep those same blessings from yourself every time you allow them to disconnect you from yourself and yourself, and by proxy, spirit, right? And your light inside. The degree of disdain that you regard others with is the same degree of self-hatred that you view yourself with as well, because that view of them is hanging on to an energy that disconnects you from your spirit and your source at all times. It disconnects you from that place within you that can shine the light. It dims your light, in fact. So it's a sacrifice that you make, thinking that that feeling of them, that negative feeling of them, is going to protect you or give you something. It's going to bless you in some way. But it ends up being a sacrifice because it pushes away the oneness that is accessible to you in favor of something completely different, in favor of something much more painful. But we're taught, this is also a cultural thing, right? We're taught, culturally speaking, that this is how we access bliss. This is how we access joy, is the degree to which we limit others from accessing that light within. So worth considering too, that those people who you want, who you have the most challenges with, have people who love them more than you could ever imagine, right? That's a blessing of a perspective shift. That's a miracle. It's a miracle. It's a Course in Miracles, right? Like, it's the holy instant, the instant that we're realizing that, I call it the loving instant, but the loving instant that the switch flips on and we realize someone adores this human being, someone adores them. And here I am using them to restrict my own blessings from reaching me, from allowing my own light to shine, from allowing my own awareness to go out into the world and do amazing things. I am letting them disconnect me. Wait, no. I'm letting myself disconnect me because I am using that person as a way to perpetuate a harm to myself, because I do not believe that I am worth a miracle, because I do not believe that I am worth this kind of expansion. Go to that place, to that one person. We all have one person that's challenging in our lives. And this isn't saying like run towards them without boundaries and do all the unhealthy. No, no. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying allow the present moment awareness to be where you emplace them in your heart space and see through those eyes outwards, because that is your light shining quietly too. So just consider that your light isn't loud. Is it powerful? Yes. Is it impactful? Oh, absolutely. But is it loud? No. It's quiet. It's very subtle. And that's its power. That is its power. So, my friends, that is lesson 37 for A Course in Creativity. If this resonated, please like and subscribe. I'd love to have you on the channel, but if you are already here and joining me as a subscriber, thank you so much. I am so grateful that you're here. Thank you. And as always, wherever this finds you on the time-space continuum, morning, afternoon, or night, I hope it finds you very, very well, my friends. Take care.